because you're trying to scratch this emotional itch that you had. When Bitcoin was at $3,000, 80% of people surveyed thought it was a bubble. And when it was at $10,000, 20% of people thought it was a bubble. Like a complete different of just like, once you've experienced something, your view of it is going to completely change. In your 20s, you worry about what everybody thinks about you. In your 30s, you don't care what anyone thinks about you. And in your 40s, you realize that nobody was thinking about you to begin with. I do think for everybody, there's a level of net worth at which above that, if people know how much money you have, friends, family, kids, community, coworkers, whoever it might be, there's a social liability that comes from it. That every dollar after that, it's not going to change how you live in terms of a nicer house, a nicer car. That stuff will mean virtually nothing to you at that point in terms of increasing the ability. But the level of people who start thinking of you differently, friends who expect you to pay for dinner, kids who expect an inheritance, neighbors who expect you to donate to their charity, whatever it might be, is a real social liability. And that is the ultimate tiniest violin for half the country living paycheck to paycheck to say something like that. But I do think it's important even for low-income people who are aspiring for a level of wealth. It is so easy to overestimate what money is going to do for your happiness. That is not to say that it cannot make you happier. It can, of course, full stop. But it's easy to overestimate it. And it's almost impossible for lower income people to realize that there is a level at which you might literally look back and say, I was happier back then. There's a great quote. A lot of this got me thinking. One of the best business books I think ever written is the biography of Harvey Firestone, the tire magnate, Firestone Tires. He wrote it in 1926. It's so well written, it's so good. And he makes this observation that he was like, every single one of his rich friends, every single one, the first thing that they did when they got a lot of money was they bought a gigantic house. And he said every single one of them considers it a burden. I brought that up in the book because I think that's probably one of the easiest things to overlook when you are a lower income person or middle income person, whatever, aspiring for more, is yes, money can do a lot for you. There's a lot it cannot do for you. And there's a level at which it actually spins in reverse. Travel as an experience is okay at best. And so many vacations, my wife and I always say like the best part of the trip was coming home. And we're like, but other people are like, travel is the best thing in the world. I'll tell you two areas where I kind of got that idea. I think it started in investing when it became really clear to me that the way that I invest, which is dollar cost averaging in index funds, is not right for everybody. I think it's right for a lot of people, but I'm not a passive zealot who says everybody should do it like this. And if you don't, you're an idiot. I don't think that's true at all because I have a different risk tolerance. I have different goals. I have different skills. I have different objectives. Like it's completely different. Not only that, but over the course of my life, that will change. I don't know if I'm going to be investing like this 30 years from now. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I'm going to change. So the idea that anyone would say, here's how to invest, here's the right way to do it, and here's the wrong way to do it, I just don't think that exists. There's a million different ways to do it that's right for you. I use this at the start of the chapter that you're referencing. I used to live in Washington, D.C., and I loved going to the Library of Congress where there's a section there where they have for about a dozen newspapers, every single edition going back to the early 1800s on microfilm. So you can go in and search. And I love going in and finding like a random newspaper from 1907 and just seeing like, what were people talking about back then? And because I'm an investor, I was like, what were people saying about the economy in 1929? And so I could go in and find all these newspapers from 1929. And what's cool is that unlike a history book, there's no hindsight bias in that. They did not know what was about to happen. So this is people's real thoughts at the time. I thought it was so interesting. And I found this column in the Washington Post in 1929 from a columnist named Robert Quinlan. And the title of his column was, "The more you are snubbed while poor, the more you enjoy displaying being rich." And I think he had an intuition for something that was later confirmed with studies, which is like the poorer you grew up, the higher your propensity to want to show off your wealth with fancy cars, fancy homes, fancy jewelry, whatever it might be, because you're trying to scratch this emotional itch that you had. I think to somebody who grew up dirt poor, a Lamborghini is the ultimate measure of success, that you overcame your earlier struggles. If you grew up wealthy, a Lamborghini is like the most gaudy, egotistical, gross thing you could have. And there's no right or wrong answer. Like, I think what I'm getting at is there's always a psychological, emotional story for how people spend their money. Like we're all shaped by our experiences, my childhood, your childhood, the generation that we were in. And a lot of it is like some form of psychological scarring that you have of what you're trying to be, your level of self-confidence, your level of ego, whatever it might be. Who are you trying to impress? Trying to impress yourself, trying to impress others. I had this family friend who grew up very, very poor. He was homeless for most of his childhood, and then became a pretty successful businessman. And when his daughter was applying to college, he told her, he said, pick the most expensive school that you get into. And the reason he said that is because it made him as a father feel so good to go from homeless as a child to sending his daughter to the most expensive school. And in his mind, he was like, the more expensive, the better. And this is where like the psychological scarring, the holes of our spending come in. It's not so simple as just like nice stuff, not so nice stuff, fancy stuff. There's always a story behind it. And because my story is different from your story, there's no right way to do it. I was, for a lot of my adulthood, I've loosened up a little bit, but my wife and I were pretty frugal. And the truth is we didn't want that much, or we didn't really know what would make us happy. We've loosened up, but I had friends, but this is not that long ago. This is maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I had a lot of friends that would give me so much grief about it. But the truth was, we were perfectly happy. But it absolutely made sense for us. We liked our simple, frugal little life. And it always kind of, I never really understood when my friends were like, oh, you should get a different car. You should spend more on this. And I was like, but we're totally happy. Like, why would I change it if we're happy? And so I think piecing all those together, the only logical conclusion is like, there's no right way to do it. You have to figure it out for yourself. And even within yourself, you're going to change throughout the course of your life and figure different things out. Nothing is as persuasive as what you've experienced firsthand. And so if you started investing in 2008 or in 2007, you lost half your money in 2008, that's something like reading about it does not do any justice to experiencing it. And so your lived experience, even if we can all be amateur historians and try to imagine what it was like to live through the Great Depression or live through the inflation of the 70s, I didn't. I felt a lot of this pretty strongly. I think a lot of people did. When COVID economically, but also health-wise in the early months of 2020, it was like there was no amount of lived experience that could have prepared you for what that would be like until you actually went through it. And even if in hindsight, parts of it were overreaction, a lot of it was overreaction. Like there were moments in March of 2020 where it was like, you could have never imagined what that would be like. And to read about the flu pandemic of the early 20th century, like there was no amount of doing it. I think it's true for a lot of aspects of life, is that whenever you say, I am a blank, you've beholden yourself to an identity that's going to take control of your thought process. So it can be anything. I am a Democrat. I am a Republican. I am a gold bug. Whenever you use that phrase, you're almost saying, I have outsourced my critical thinking to my tribe. And for even something as completely innocent as I am a saver, for a lot of people, what that has done to them is they've said, like, there could be ways that they could spend money to make themselves and their family happier, but they won't do it because they've told them, they have this thing in their head, like, I save money. That's what I do. And they take it, it's just axiomatic. It's just like their religion at that point. And if you talk to a lot of financial advisors, they will tell you that one of the most difficult things they do in their practice is getting people who have saved plenty of money for retirement to actually spend it. Because those people have been so conditioned for their entire life of, I save money every month. And then to switch gears and be like, no, we're going to start drawing it down. Your net worth is going to go down every year, and that's totally fine. You have more than enough, and they can't do it. They've been so ingrained. And I think at that point, money is a psychological liability. It's a financial asset and a psychological, it's controlling you at that point. It's not a tool to live a better life. It has full grip on your personality. And I think that is not uncommon. There are a lot of people like that. I think I may have had bits of this. I think I write about it because I've been trying to fight against that in my own life of like, A, not associating net worth with self-worth, and B, not saying I am a blank. Like this is how I think about money. I just want to use it as a tool, making sure that your money philosophies are not part of your identity. And you can use money as a tool to leverage who you are. But once it becomes who you are, and when you look in the mirror, you see that